Hello, I'm Jenny Fern. Welcome to my library. I'm a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who's really into permaculture and wants to talk about books. Today I would like to do the Get to Know My Taste tag. This is a tag by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. It is really something to help you understand if you would connect with a certain booktuber's tastes and help you explore and find new booktubers. I love the idea and I'd like to answer these questions. Question 1 is, how do you rate books? So like, do you give star ratings or do you evaluate books in some other way? I don't do star ratings anymore. I did for a lot of my adult reading life since I started my Goodreads account in 2017. I provided star ratings. But before that, and now, I don't, unless it is something that I'm getting from NetGalley. How do I evaluate books or present how I feel about books if I'm not giving a star rating? I will just tell you how I feel about it. Question 2, how do you approach reviewing books? What is your review style? Are you analytical, emotional, casual, or structured? So when I do my monthly reading wrap-ups, I will explain a little bit about what the plot of the book is, do a little bit of a synopsis of the book, and then go into some of the things that I thought were the most interesting, some parallels that I was pulling from other things going on in the world or in my life or in the other books that I've been reading. I might talk a little bit about like ideas within the book. If it was especially good or especially poor, I might talk a little bit about the writing itself. But I think a lot of the times I'm talking about the ideas within a work and things that I thought were really good or poor about a book. From that, I would say I'm probably more emotional and casual, but analytical. I'm slightly analytical in that I can take a piece and think about it and talk with you a little bit more about like what it's saying, pull in parallels from the world and that kind of thing. So I would say like a mix of analytical, emotional, and casual. Would not say that I'm structured in reviewing books. Question 3 is, what is the book that made you a reader? In kindergarten, I memorized a book, 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. That's the first book that I remember. I think just the practicality of like trying to turn my brain off and go to sleep is what made me a reader as an adult. I wouldn't say that I'm somebody who became a reader because of an individual book. There were things that I found very comforting about science fiction, especially like classic science fiction, that made me want to read more and more. Do you have a genre niche? Are there certain genres you gravitate toward, or do you read widely across genres? I don't have a niche, but I do read certain types of works. I do read widely, but there are certain things that I will not be reading. Although science fiction is kind of what got me into being a reader as an adult, I'm not reading a ton of science fiction nowadays, but I do love a science fiction. But again, I don't read that a ton. I think I would read more literary fiction nowadays, maybe some kind of like weird stuff, not a ton of weird stuff, middle grade stories. I even read picture books on this channel. I read graphic novels and manga, and I've been reading some light novels recently. I do read some translated fiction, short stories, classics, and also older work that isn't considered classics. And then there's the bucket of general fiction, like stuff that you might find in a little free library. I also read from that. I'm always trying to like dip my toe into different things to see if it's actually something that I vibe with. But there are genres that I don't gravitate towards, like thrillers, romantasy. I'm not like super big on reading fantasy either, although some of the fantasy books that I've read have been excellent. Do you generally prefer character-driven or plot-driven stories? I like both. I do like an interesting plot, And I love an interesting character as well. I think when I was younger, I was much more plot focused than character focused. But I think when I really look at myself and look at how I read and how I think about things, I like a concept. Like, you don't even have to really have a fleshed out character for me if you have an interesting concept. Like, that goes for short stories as well. So I think more like ideas, like thinking about things around the book is what I really enjoy about reading, weirdly enough. I like both, but more like ideas and concepts. Question 6. What's a book you love so much that you don't care if others don't like it? There's plenty. I don't really care if other people don't like a book. I read Dark Princess and I absolutely loved it. And when I went to put in my review on Goodreads, I saw that a lot of people don't like it. That's by W.E.B. Du Bois. Maybe Dark Princess. The other one I would say that I know people don't like is The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake. It's funny, these books are like books that I really loved in recent years. So The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake by Amy Bender. I also saw a lot of reviews that people just didn't like it, and I thought it was really, really good. Question number 8, what is in your trash pocket? So I've never heard that phrase before, but those are books, tropes, or themes that you know are bad, but you love them anyway. So I'd say that's like a guilty pleasure. This is actually something that when I was reading through these questions, I thought about this, where I know that people don't always like when there is discussion of the theme on the page, but I love that. Like in The Sea Wolf by Jack London, there's a lot of discussion about morality and what it is to be a good person in this book, on the page of this book. And I love that. Similarly, H.G. Wells' Island of Dr. Moreau, that also has a lot of like blatant discussion of the themes of the book. And again, it's just something that I really, really enjoy. I also love like the trope of like a conspiratorial band of people, or like I love like a little conspiracy plot or like an organized group. Like I would say The Man Who Is Thursday by G.K. Chesterton is an example of that. Dark Princess is an example of that. And I would say as well, Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, organizing people for a cause. I don't think those are trash though. Those are just tropes that I enjoy. I don't know what I like that I know is bad. Like if I like it, then I think it's good. Question number 9. Do you have any deal breakers in books? That's something, if present, immediately turns you off from a book. I would say probably my biggest one is any sort of like sexual relationship with a child is not my bag at all. Absolutely not. I would say also in general, abuse of children is really hard for me, but I have read things with abuse of children that I actually think are excellent. So one example of something that I hated was My Absolute Darling. That features abuse of a child, and that was done in a way where I just hated that book. But I have read Earthlings by Sayaka Murata, where I just think it's amazing. I loved that book. And I think one element that can make abuse of a child something that I actually do like in a book, which sounds crazy, is if it is a story that ends with kind of like that Quentin Tarantino aspect of rewriting history for vengeance. Like that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy Carrie, is because that's also like an abused girl, some element of retribution, which I think is important to me when I'm reading those books. Too much abuse of children on the page, I will really feel so uncomfortable and just want to exit completely. Number 10, what's a strong opinion you have about a book released within the last year? Whether it's overrated, underrated, or a take you need to share. So I'm not like a big new release person, but because I've been using NetGalley recently, I have been exposed to books that are not yet released. One of the books that I was exposed to from that I thought was absolutely impeccable, just one of the most brilliant things that I've read this year, is The Dilemmas of Working Women. And it was written quite a long time ago in Japan, but the English translation is a new release. That's by Fumio Yamamoto, and it's a collection of 5 stories about these women who are trying to survive in a working world set in a time of recession. It hits so hard for anybody who is a worker in society currently, especially if you are a woman. Question 11, what do you look for in writing? What makes a book stand out to you? Is it prose, style, themes, voice, structure, or something else? I love good writing, so good prose, descriptive in beautiful ways. Like, I love John Steinbeck's writing. I love Karen Russell's writing. Kazuo Ishiguro, I also really enjoy. There's definitely themes that I gravitate towards. Structure, I don't care about structure. That it could be anything, I feel like. A lot of what I look for in writing is something interesting being discussed on the page. Again, ideas, concepts. This is like a common thing for me. But there's also plenty of things that I read that are like more purely entertaining. I want something that is well written, and it doesn't have to be flowery or anything like that. Like, I really enjoy Kurt Vonnegut's writing. I think thoughtful writing, something that I can tell that there's been work put into it. How do you decide what to read next? I'm actually like kind of awful at following TBRs. I like to have like a set amount of options to pick from, but I'm also really bad at sticking to exactly a set number of books. I definitely like to mood read. A subset of this question says, do you follow external factors like hype, recommendations, or art? I definitely collect a lot of recommendations to pick from. Hype is really hard for me. Obviously, if I hear multiple people talking about a book and I think it's really interesting what they're saying the book is about, then I will gravitate towards reading that book. But if it's so widespread, like if everybody's reading it, everybody's talking about it, I have to say that the Elena Ferrante, whatever that book series is called, so many people have been talking about it recently that I just don't want to hear about it ever again. Even if I'd be interested in reading it, I cannot get away from people talking about that book. So I would say definitely not hype. Arcs, I do read some arcs, but I pick them out for myself. Question 13, where do you get inspiration for your booktube content? Is it other creators, trends, personal reading experiences? I would say definitely other creators. There's a huge amount of inspiration that I gather from seeing what other people are doing here. But I also find just within what I have, the interests that I have personally, I can be inspired. I can inspire myself to do certain reading videos. Sometimes I just want to talk about a list of books. Sometimes I want to talk to you about what I've been reading. And sometimes I want to do a reading vlog. Those are all kind of standard. But then for the more like weird ideas, that usually either comes from inspiration from other people or whatever I've been most interested in recently. Question 14, if you could make any book go viral right now, what would it be? What's a book that I think deserves more attention? This one's weird. I don't care if something goes viral. A lot of the books that I'm reading, like the authors are dead. Like, I don't know. I'll pick something where like the author's alive. These 2 books here, maybe. So maybe I would say The Mountain and the Sea by Ray Naylor or The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. Those are relatively new. I skipped a question. I have to go back. Question number 7. What's a book you love so much that if someone doesn't like it, you know your reading tastes don't align? I think The Little Prince is my answer for this. I think if you don't like The Little Prince, we're not gonna be compatible. And I honestly think this might be like the most important question on this. There's so much about The Little Prince that I think reflects what I'm interested in reading. Number 15 is, who are some booktubers with reading tastes similar to yours? It is hard for me to be like objective about this. Emmy reads. She and I have a similar breadth of reading taste and a similar what we tend to read and what we don't tend to read. For example, occasionally she'll read like a cozy fantasy or a light novel, occasionally she'll read manga, but she also really reads a lot of classic literature, and she also reads some literary fiction. She kind of dabbles in the same areas that I dabble in. I can relate a lot to what she chooses to read, but she's also a huge inspiration to me, and I really, really enjoy what she does on her channel. So I also enjoy watching her, so I don't know if I'm like biased myself. I guess another one that I would say we have similar reading tastes is Ariel Bissett from the Books Unbound podcast. I feel like I can really relate to what she enjoys in books and the books that she tends to read. Maybe it's more of like the ethos around reading as well. The other channel that I think maybe we have some similar tastes is Anna Wallace Johnson. Love her channel as well. I think she really puts together a good video, and I love her styling of her videos. She loves John Steinbeck, which is a huge bonus. And I think she has a similar mix of contemporary work and literary work and classics that I kind of have a similar taste. She also does thrift shopping for books. Reading taste-wise, I'm aligned with those three people. I do also watch a lot of people and get a lot of recommendations from people where our precise tastes don't align, but I will find like a nugget in what they do that I think is really interesting. But our overall tastes are not really the same. So I didn't include a lot of the people that I mention a lot when I go through the books where I've noted them down from different sources. There are people who I think they have maybe a more niche taste in reading than I do, and the recommendations that they have for their area of expertise, I can still find interest in those. So I think it's really fun and cool to watch different people who have tastes that are different than mine. So that is who I am as a reader and a booktube person. So if you find any of this interesting, if you can relate to what I'm saying, then you might enjoy my channel. And if you enjoyed this, if you think that that's the case, please consider sharing this with a friend who you think would also enjoy it. Consider liking and subscribing, and I will be back again soon.